Hi, I'm Phillip. I'm going to be reviewing Pitfall II Lost Caverns Adventures Edition for the Atari 5200 Supersystem. After the massive success of Pitfall, which was the #1 selling game for 64 weeks in a row, selling over 4 million copies, there was a sequel planned, Pitfall II Lost Caverns. The first Pitfall, released in 1982, was a technological marvel for the Atari 2600, the console where it sold the most cartridges for. Having reached a limit with the limited Atari 2600 could do, following up and improving upon the game with a sequel seemed like an impossible task. At Activision, David Crane, with a background in chip design from National Semiconductor, created a new custom integrated circuit called the DPC chip into the ROM of the cartridges. The new chip allowed for improved programming capabilities and 3-part harmonic music. Pitfall Harry was originally conceived by David Crane as a Running Man character in 1979. However, it wasn't until 1982 that he implemented the character into a game, with some inspiration from Raiders of the Lost Ark and the animated TV series The Heckle and Jekyll Show featuring snapping alligators in their intro. Pitfall became so popular, the game's character, Pitfall Harry, became a main character on the animated series Saturday Supercade, along with Donkey Kong, Mario, Q*bert, and Frogger. Two of the characters made specifically for the animated series, Rhonda, Pitfall Harry's niece, and Quickclaw, Pitfall Harry's pet mountain lion to be exact, were included in Pitfall 2. He seems to be inspired by the Hanna-Barbera animated series, The Quick Draw McGraw Show character of Snaggletooth, an early version of Snagglepuss, an anthropomorphic orange mountain lion who lives in a cave. Pitfall 2 was first released for the Atari 2600 in 1984, and then was ported to several game systems and home computers of the day, including the Apple II, the PC Junior, MSX, ColecoVision, and several consoles of the day. The Commodore 64 version was rewritten from scratch by Tim Schotter, but remains mostly the same. The port with the most drastic changes was the arcade port, which was licensed by Sega from Activision, making it almost an entirely new game. This port was also brought over to the Sega SG-1000 console in Japan. The ports for the Atari 5200 and Atari 8-bit computers were done by Michael Lorenzen, who reused David Crane's code and added a second cavern level onto it, which even David Crane himself has said as the superior version of the game. Marketing at Activision did allow ports to vary so drastically, although in this case Activision producer Brad Frager allowed the inclusion. It was excused as merely an Easter egg to be found. This is the port I grew up playing, Pitfall II Lost Caverns Adventures Edition, and that's the game I'm reviewing. To me, this is the best version of the game. It stays true to David Crane's original while adding a touch more detail and a great challenge onto it. I had the privilege of meeting David Crane at a couple classic game expos where he took some photographs with me and he autographed various games that he designed that I owned, including Pitfall 2. Oh yeah. For many people who grew up before the NES era, there are many fond memories of video games like Pac-Man, Frogger, Q*bert, many single-screen games. For most people who had a home game system, they say they had an Atari, which they're most likely referring to the Atari 2600 or Atari VCS, a game system that came out in 1977. We'll jump ahead about 5 years to 1982, and you had a market flooded with video games. What a lot of people remember is one final hit before the video game crash in 1983, Pitfall. But what a lot of people forget is the time in between the video game crash and the NES era, and the hits that came out during that time. Pitfall 2 was one of these great games, unfortunately almost completely forgotten in time. Even more forgotten is the Atari 5200 version of the game. The game for a system that was supposed to be the successor to the Atari 2600, but unfortunately was born in 1982, right before the video game crash of 83, and due to various circumstances died a quick death. My earliest gaming memories were playing on the Atari 5200 that belonged to my older brother. It was already the mid to late 80s after the system went out of production, and he picked up the gaming system for bargain price deals. He had 15 games for it, most of which were single-screen games like Galaxy and Dig Dug and Pac-Man. One game that stood out to me though was Pitfall 2. That game was massive. It had a vast assortment of enemies, obstacles, items to collect, and what was revolutionary for the time, scrolling in a platform game. Vertical scrolling was the basis for exploring this monumental adventure. You start off at the first screen of the adventure at the title screen with the title scrolling by along with the game credits. Credits in games were unheard of back in the day, but the founders of Activision pioneered this movement after their exodus from Atari, who being labeled by Atari CEO Ray Kazar as being high-strung prima donnas. They just wanted recognition for their work, like authors of a book or crew who worked on a film. Other than scrolling credits on the screen, the only other moving object is your cowardly sidekick pet mountain lion Quickclaw. Having never owned the instruction manual box or seen the animated series Saturday Supercade, I always thought that he was a shaking, hyperactive monkey. I always got a kick out of watching him shake. You begin the game reminiscent of the previous game. You see trees, dark voids to fall into, ladders, treasure, a few similar enemies, although you see a few clues that the game is vaster than its predecessor in merely the first screen. You see areas below the underground floor as an indicator of more complexity and difficulty in comparison to the original Pitfall. Agility and quick reflexes are necessary as you have to run under enemies, outmaneuver enemies, jump over them, all while making precise jumps over holes in the ground. You control the jungle explorer Pitfall Harry as you venture into the underground cavern beneath the jungles of Machu Picchu, Peru and the Andes Mountains in South America. Although according to the longitude and latitude, longitude 13.31 south, latitude 71.59 west, provided in Pitfall Harry's diary, it lands you in close by Puerto Peru. Maybe Pitfall Harry is there to check out one of Peru's largest street parties, Fiesta de la Virgen, instead of visiting Incan mountaintop ruins. Your objective in the first level is to collect the stolen United States gold bars that were stowed away here, save your niece Rhonda, acquire the Raj diamond ring that was stolen a century ago, and save your cowardly sidekick, pet mountain lion Quickclaw. In order to beat the second level, you must solve its surprising mystery of freedom by obtaining the golden rope, a pot, a trumpet, and a snake charmer. If you reach the area where you're supposed to finish the game without all of the items, you will only see the message, "Charming the golden rope is Pitfall Harry's only hope," scroll across the screen. That sounds loosely like something Princess Leia would say to Obi-Wan in Star Wars, another George Lucas inspiration to add to Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it could be pure coincidence as only hope is not that much of a unique phrase. One of the funnest parts of the game is the shaft where the balloons emerge. According to the story, these are specimen bags that your niece Rhonda was carrying that she inflated with steam from an underground geyser to signal for help. If you want a challenge, this game is here to satisfy. It can be torturously hard at times, but not without mercy. While the inexperienced may be finding themselves dying left and right, and even the experienced receiving their fair share of punishment, there is a saving grace to the game. Checkpoints. Checkpoints in the form of red crosses on the ground. According to the manual, these are mystical Incan healing centers where you rejuvenate your life. Land on these to mark where you'll end up back at if you ever lose your life somewhere. You'll be magically transported back here while losing points off your score. You'll just need to dust yourself off and try again. Many creatures lie in your path obstructing your objective, including eels, poisonous Amazonian frogs, albino scorpions, vampire bats, Andean condors, a pesky stone-aged cave rat, fire ants, piranha fish, rabid vampire bats, and aggressive poisonous Amazonian frogs. For a perfect score in the first level, you must collect all 28 gold bars, Rhonda, the diamond ring, acquire the stone-aged rat, and rescue your pet cat, Quickclaw, all without getting injured for a perfect score of 199,000 points. If you received a score of 99,000 points or higher in the first level back in the day, you could send in a picture of your TV screen along with $1 to Activision to receive a Cliffhangers patch, physical proof of your achievement to call your own, long before the days of online achievements. Once you reach the second level, a second score will appear on the top right of the screen to display your score for the second level, adding to your current score. A perfect score in the game after beating the second level is 504,000 points. While the first level is massive, it's somewhat straightforward. Even my young self was able to beat it. You basically go all the way to the right on the map, then almost all the way down, then left a screen or two, then all the way up, and then left a screen or two, and so on. Through enough trial and error, you'll collect your needed items and reach the end of the level. After you save your sidekick, Quickclaw, Pitfall Harry will jump for joy and run through a blue portal that appears where you will then emerge in the second level. The second level is not so straightforward. You'll be landed in the middle right section of the map and then brought to a screen where you have to decide for yourself whether to go up, down, or left. It's much more maze-like and requires more precise platform jumping skills. For any jumps in the game, you have to fully commit to the jump, since you can't change directions mid-air like platformers yet to be released. There are 5 different musical compositions in the game, with 3 being variations on the same tune. There's one main melody throughout the game, that's Pitfall Harry's heroic tune, another melody that is more upbeat and triumphant when you collect treasure or item, and that eventually returns you to the normal tune, and a slow depressing tune once you get hit by an enemy until shortly after you're forced to return back to your save point. The music eventually returns back to its normal tone, and you'll be off to attempt to conquer that section of the game once more. In the balloon section, once you jump to grab onto a balloon, the classic waltz tune Sobre las Alas, or Over the Waves in Spanish, by Juvitito Rosas is played. A quite fitting title to play as you ascend over the waves in the Latin American setting. obtain all the items in the second level, the Snake Charmer plays the trumpet with your new delightful tune, and the rope rises from the pot as you rise with all your items on the charmed rope. You get an ending screen with all your treasure, your rescued companions, your final score, and one final play of your heroic tune. Pitfall 2 remains one of my favorite games of all time. It's my favorite game from all the Atari game systems, yes, even all the Atari Jaguar games that for me ranks as one of the top platformers of the 1980s. You don't feel like you played through the game after 2 or 3 static game level screens, 5 or 10 minutes later. This is arguably the first true adventure game. Unfortunately, most people have not heard of Pitfall 2, let alone have the opportunity to play Pitfall 2. A true lost gaming gem of a time right after the video game crash. I recommend Pitfall 2 Lost Caverns Adventures Edition to anyone who has an Atari 5200 or Atari 8-bit computer. If you don't have those systems, I would still recommend the other versions of the game for early 80s computers and home game systems. It's a great game regardless of what system you played on. Let me know what you think about the game in the comment section. Feel free to share the video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.